With the stock market at record highs, are you prepared for the next downturn? Corrections can be unforgiving. Smart investors know diversification is the key to financial security. Noble Gold Investments make it easy to diversify with gold. With over $2 billion in sales, Noble Gold has helped thousands of Americans add gold to their portfolios. Open a qualified account today and receive 2 5-ounce Silver America the Beautiful coins as a thank you. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Don't let the next correction catch you off guard. NobleGoldInvestments.com. USAID is the ATM machine of the Central Intelligence Agency. It is the funding mechanism of the deep state. Do you know that we spent $1.5 million to promote DEI in Serbia? $70,000 for a DEI musical production in Ireland? We spent $47,000 on a transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 on a transgender comic in Peru. $20 million to produce Sesame Street in Iraq to promote a LGBT gay agenda. $2 million for sex reassignment surgery in Guatemala. $27 million for gift bags for deportees in Central America. Hundreds of millions of dollars for irrigation and agricultural in Afghanistan that were ultimately used to increase opium supply. $1.1 billion to build a port and a power plant in Haiti after the 2010 earthquake, a project promoted by Bill Clinton, but nothing was actually built. $74 million evaporated in 2006 under the title of Promoting Democracy in Cuba. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. Joining us now is Jonathan Kieperman, founder of Passage Press, also known as Lomez. Great to see you again. What is your take on USAID, and should it continue to exist?
Charlie, the easy answer there is no, at least not in its current form. It's great to be here, by the way. But, this question of USAID and what we've seen over the last week since Marco Rubio at the State Department has taken control and tried to make transparent some of the funding schemes going on there has really got me, and I think a lot of people, really heated, because it's very clear that what USAID is doing is the exact opposite of what is in the interest of the United States and the American people. And USAID really is a kind of perfect microcosm of both the stupidity and the malice of the unelected and unaccountable bureaucrats who run our State Department and use our tax dollars, the money that we make and that should be helping our people and supporting our interests, instead goes to spreading this international ideology, what we might just call international wokeism, for the benefit of their own pockets and of their own interests, which again are entirely divorced from the interests of the American people. So, I'm really glad that this is now out there, that this is a discussion we're having, and what was previously so opaque about some of this funding and this waste is now open for everyone to see. I want to thank, by the way, Data Republican, a great account on Twitter, also put together a tool at datarepublican.com where you can go and search this stuff for yourself. So I encourage you to go to datarepublican.com, type in USAID to the grant search tool, and see what comes up. I just did this, okay? And here's just one small sample of something I found. $30 million going to an organization called Creative Associates International. What does Creative Associates International do? They fund women in the Guatemalan highland to stitch their own ponchos. They also fund vague community organizing efforts in Burkina Faso. I dare anyone listening this to explain to me why that money being spent on ponchos in the Guatemalan highland is more appropriate than spending that money to fix up, let's say, the floods in North Carolina or the fires that just devastated our people in California.
And there's also some nefarious activity here as well, in addition to the extraordinary. Talk about how this money is also used in parallel with some of the nefarious goals of our intel agencies.
Yeah, so this is right. And I think, this requires a kind of deep dive into the history of the State Department and some of our globalist policies, what some people like our friend Darren Beattie, who's now at the Department of State, has called the global American empire, which is really an offshoot of the neocons, going back to the Iraq War, in this idea that we could spread democracy across the world. And we would do that by force initially. It turns out that you can't just march an army into a place like Iraq or Afghanistan and turn it into a liberal democracy. So over the last decade, that strategy has transmogrified now, and we use a kind of soft power, and we use this kind of ideology of wokeness to impose the interests of this global American empire on the rest of the world. A lot of this is represented in things like LGBTQI plus initiatives, things like environmental justice. You see words like Latinx politics popping up all over the place when you search for this stuff. Our friend Josh Howerton, he's a great account on Twitter. He mentioned, for example, he found that a lot of Christian organizations and religious organizations around the world, this money is dangled over their head, and they only get access to it so long as they allow for and accept the leftist activist views on things like LGBT issues and trans issues. Otherwise, this money disappears. So it's a way to sort of force this ideology onto the rest of the world. A quick history lesson here, okay? I'm reminded of Tacitus, who, writing about the Roman Empire and quoting a leader of the Britons, describing the wrath and devastation of the Roman imperial army, had the quote, they make a desert and they call it peace. And you might say something like this about the global American empire, which is we raise a pride flag and we call it peace.
Otherwise known as the GAE, the GAE.
Yeah, that's right, GAE, the global American empire.
Just by coincidence. But you make a really astute point, which is that when we're told, for example, at USAID by their defenders, well, we're sending American values abroad. So we think we're sending like pocket constitutions to Aboriginal tribes in Australia. Like, wow. Like, you're trying to tell me that the poor people of Sudan are going to learn about Thomas Jefferson. No. When they say we're sending American values, we are sending gender transition clinics to Sri Lanka. Like we're sending the lowest aspects of the radical trans agenda. We're sending gay pride flags to Thailand. We're trying to convert the part of the world that might not believe that there are 242 genders. And part of this is the evangelistic component of the great American modern empire. The religion, the state-run religion, is LGBTQ diversity is our strength. Lomez.
So, the divide here is very simple. There is the ideology of the global American empire. This is what we call globalists, broadly speaking. And then the other foreign policy option that we have is a nationalist, American first foreign policy. USAID has been operating on the globalist foreign policy ideology for the last several decades. Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, our patriots now in charge of our government, are reasserting a foreign policy that prefers and supports the interests of the American people over the rest of the world. And part of this now is going to be revising how we spend our money and returning that money to the American people.
I want to talk about this ugly crusade that they're on right now to try and dox and try and destroy and even murder their death threats towards these young engineers that Elon Musk has brought in, these young prodigies that Elon has brought into our government. How many times do you hear, well, why don't the best people want to go into government? We have the smartest whiz kids on the planet that are right now working to make your government more efficient, and left-wingers are basically saying they want to murder them online. That no exaggeration. And you could see the worst people in our entire government are getting outraged about it. Let's just play a piece of tape here just to reinforce this. This is the ingrate, Elon Omar, speaking English for a change, which is nice. Play cut 70.
It is really, really a sad day in America. We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made.
It's good that she's now addressing the cameras in English. By the way, did we ever look into the fact about her whole brother thing? I don't think the statute of limitations has expired that. Kristi Noem should investigate. So this is a very important story, and let me walk through it through my take, and then I want Lomez to go with it. And Blake has this phenomenal write-up here. I don't know if I'm going to get to all this, but it's worthwhile. So DOGE is a special government employee project done by President Trump. Department of Government Efficiency. Who could be against that? Well, we know who could be against that. Every little gremlin of the regime is against it. So Elon Musk has brought in his all-stars. And these kids, when you meet them, they're kids, 19, 20, 21 years old. These are the best our country has to offer. I'm saying IQs that will melt the charts. I met one of them, and you could just tell. I mean, he is so smart. He is so switched on. Just that as an example, Luke Ferriter, one of them, won a $700,000 prize for figuring out how to use artificial intelligence to decipher ancient scrolls buried in the Roman city of Pompeii. He dropped out of University of Nebraska to take up a Teal Fellowship, which pays talented people a six-figure sum to drop out of college. Actually, I applied for the Teal Fellowship and didn't get it way back when. The good thing I didn't get it. In response to the fact that these young prodigies are working on the Department of Government Efficiency, let's put up these images, cut 92 through 95. They are now receiving death threats to their homes. Their personal addresses are being leaked. There is fantasizing going on all throughout of left-wing Twitter, which is called Blue Sky, to hunt them down. Let's please put up 92 through 95. Saying Luigi intensifies, which is a direct threat. Of course, the United Healthcare killer was named Luigi. Their personal information and addresses are now being made public. They're being hunted down. Antifa has been mobilized, which is the paramilitary arm of the Democrat Party, to go after these 19, 20, and 21-year-olds. And what are they doing? They're simply trying to make government more efficient and find duplicative costs and savings. Lomez, your reaction.
Yeah, I mean, this is typical of what we see from the left now. So first of all, these kids are the perfect embodiment of what we talk about when we talk about meritocracy. They are the best. These are the people we want running our systems and running our government. We don't want to scare away these people from public service. We need them. If we're going to fix this country, we need these kids. We need their brain power. We need their talents. And so the left, why are they so angry about this? One is they're out of ideas. Okay, they can't argue against the kinds of things these kids are doing. They know there's waste, but they don't want to admit to it. And so what do? They threaten, they ostracize, they are like cornered animals gnashing their teeth. And, frankly, I think it's largely impotent. Although they do want to do damage. They want to prevent these kids from being able to get jobs in the future, et cetera. And so we have to make sure, as if we're on the right here, that we protect these people. We make sure when they get out of government that they have a place to land on their feet. So that's number one. The other thing, too, here that's going on is for a long time, I think the left has felt entitled to this kind of young talent. The left has always assumed
that's exactly right.
that young, bright people are going to join their side. But there's been a vibe shift. Okay, this is palpable here, and we see it with kids like this. They don't want to join the left. They don't want to engage in this woke ideology that, frankly, has probably made them suffer quite a bit over the course of their young lives. And now they are on the right, and they are doing what we want them to do. And so this is something that the left is very afraid of, that there's going to be this massive shift. Well, it's too late. It's already happened. The other thing here is what these kids are doing is sorting through all the waste in our government and getting rid of it. The left also feels entitled to that money. suddenly these whiz kids come along and they're going to turn off that spigot. So, they're angry for a lot of reasons, and now they're impotently lashing out at these kids. Frankly, I think it's beautiful what these kids are doing. I am so happy to see them, and we need to support them at all costs.
And just look at across the board here, and this is very important. We have this mass movement where we have Caroline Leavitt, 27. We have these 19, 20, 23-year-olds. I mean, this is a generational takeover. You have this incredible senior staff, Sergio Gore, you got JD, who have the VP who's young. You got Stephen Miller, who's in his 30s. This is the untold story of this administration because the media just doesn't cover anything. This is a Gen Z millennial takeover of the federal government. And we always thought it would be coming from the left, but this is the geriatric, the kind of nursing home regime that has been glide pathing the country into oblivion. No, the young guns are taking over the country for the better, defending the president, issuing executive orders. Well, the president's issuing them, but putting them on the desk and offering them.
Yeah.
It is a generational shift. Lomez, you're great. Come back anytime.